like with black relationships, there's no goal in the relationship. No, like a talk about what we're building.
Yeah. And then what happens is you get into the relationship, and then the resentment begins, because you know why it begins? Because no one discussed what their true desires are. If people would just say what they desire, man says what he wants and what he's expecting in a relationship, and a woman talks about what she's expecting in a relationship.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you guys can take it from there. But I think what's happening is that people are not talking about that. Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoy our content. All right, so we're going to answer a viewer's question today. This is a good question because it kind of ties into what we talked about for the Wednesday show. She says, "Hi, I've been watching your videos for some time now. The things you two speak about are important. The one thing I notice in the comments is the disconnect between black men and black women. Sometimes I feel like the disconnect is so massive that it seems that we will never reach each other. There's a lot of blaming and defensiveness. Do you all think black relationships are a lost cause at this point?" Oh, and then she wrote, she said, "P.S. I don't know how you all handle some of the comments." Laugh out loud. Chloe. Thank you, Chloe, for the question. We appreciate it. So what was it? Do you think black relationships are, do we think it's a lost cause? So no.
No,
I don't.
it's not a lost cause.
I think that, so the disconnect, let's talk about the disconnect. Okay. So the disconnect between, you're right. There's a huge, obviously, because you said you read the comments. Girl. I'm telling you, I feel like the disconnect with black men and women, honestly, just comes from not being honest with each other. So what we do is just have direct conversation, and we bring up uncomfortable topics. Right. Some of them, not all of them, but we bring up a lot of topics that spark a conversation, and a lot of people don't want to talk about. You know, and I feel like if people would just speak more to each other and talk openly, whether you agree or disagree, without being snide, just talk normal, I think that things will be, we will be connected. We will be able to have a better connection with each other. You know, relationships, I think sometimes, you know, when it comes to relationships and stuff, I don't feel like I wouldn't give up hope on black relationships. I love black men, so I would never count black men out. That would be, you know, I don't know if I would ever do that, but yeah, I think that the disconnect really honestly just comes with not being honest. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I just think sometimes black people don't do relationships well.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's not like we don't get together. Yeah. It's just that we don't get together in the right way. Right. We get together with a lot of pent up anger and frustration, and there are a lot of people, like we were saying, there are a lot of women out here that are living at home with a guy that's not married to them.
Yeah, right.
And they want to get married, but this guy just isn't doing it.
And
they're over here cooking and cleaning for him and making kids with him, and then the relationship ends, and now she's just mother without, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we don't think before we do.
Right.
I think that with black relationships, or, you know, it just seems like we don't do a lot of thinking before we get into relationships. We just sort of get into relationships.
And then resentment starts. So there's
no goal. It just feels like with black relationships, there's no goal in the relationship. It just seems like we're just attracted to each other. Yeah. And then we get together and we have this like relationship, and then it's over. There's no like a talk about what we're building. Yeah. We don't have those conversations, it doesn't seem like.
We don't. And then what happens is you get into the relationship, and then the resentment begins. Because you know why it begins? Because no one discussed what their true desires are. Yeah. Now, we talked about this in that last video that we did, that we feel like if people would just say what they desire, man says what he wants and what he's expecting in a relationship, and a woman talks about what she's expecting in a relationship, and then, you know, you guys can take it from there. But I think what's happening is that people are not talking about that. They're just getting into relationships. No one's saying anything because everybody's trying to get, you know, like each other. Right. You know what I mean? And then they get into this big relationship, and then they realize, oh, I actually wanted this.
Yeah.
Oh, you want kids? I didn't know you wanted kids. People don't discuss this stuff.
No.
People don't discuss kids, finances.
How many kids you want?
Yeah, finances, political parties. No one discusses anything.
Or what religion we're going to be. Right. If we're going to have religion at all.
Right.
If we're going to have kids, how many are we going to have?
Yes.
You know, where are you going financially?
Yeah.
What do you consider, you know, high value?
Yeah.
In a relationship, because what someone considers high value might not be what another person considers high value. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Is a woman going to work, or is she going to stay home?
Yeah.
People just don't talk about that. I think a lot of black relationships are based on sexual adrenaline and attraction. And the thing is I was just telling Danielle earlier that love is not the most important thing in a relationship. It's there, but it's under the umbrella of a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people think of love as TV, fairy tale. Yeah. I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me. It's not. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because the instant you get in an argument with someone, that love starts to fade a little bit. It starts to annoy you. But what love in its entirety, what I call mature love, loyalty, respect. And then the building of a relationship and where we're going. Right. Where we're going in a relationship. Because, see, you can love someone, but not be right for them. Right. So, I mean, there are a lot of people I love, but we don't. I've been in love with guys that just aren't going the same way I'm going. Mm-hmm. And so we can't be together. You understand? Right. A lot of people think just because you're just having feelings, you know, then that's enough. It's not enough. That's why the divorce rate is over 51%. Right. Because people are just jumping in relationships and not setting goals for the relationship. And they're so disconnected, you know, and you're right, with black men and women, it's just heightened. It's like there are successful relationships. By the way, there's successful. No, there are. There's a lot of successful black relationships, so that never gets exposed. Mm-hmm. You know, no one ever talks about those things, you know, but there is, just like you said, you read our comments. Mm-hmm. Girl, look, I know. Like, there is as you can see, mm-hmm. there is a humongous disconnect, and I just feel like there are a lot of men who don't fully understand women, mm-hmm. and there are a lot of women who don't fully understand mm-hmm. men, and some people don't even understand themselves and what they want. Mm-hmm. And so they get together and it becomes just a mosh pit of just disaster. Mm-hmm. It breaks up, explodes, you know, the whole thing. So, but I think that what people need to do separately before they even get into a relationship, I think people need to do a lot of like shadow work. If you guys know what that means, like doing a lot of shadow work is really important. It just means really digging down deep to the kid in you. Basically what triggers you. Yeah. And getting to know that person, and then confronting that person in you. Because when you don't do that work on yourself, mm-hmm. you will like just haphazardly just get into a relationship with somebody, mm-hmm. and you haven't fixed the issues. So as you see, like in some comments, I think a lot of people have issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people, like, you know, there are a lot of women that have daddy issues. A lot. And then they meet men based on that little girl right. that never had a father. Right. You know what I mean? And then they play that out with their boyfriend. Right. In a grown-up way. It's weird. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of men that have female issues, mm-hmm. whether it was from their mother or it was from a divorce or some girlfriend that cheated on them. Mm-hmm. And they just play that out with every woman. They think every woman's her. Mm-hmm. And they treat every woman just like the last relationship. Yeah. You know, I see a lot of men that say, I want a good woman. And I look at them and go, have you ever had one? Have you ever had one? You know what a good woman wants? You know what they are? Are you the man for a good woman, or do you just want a good woman? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Women do it too. I don't want a good man. Are you ready for a good man? Are you even a good woman? Are you? Do you even know? I'm not talking about being nice, because that's the first. I'm a nice. Nice doesn't mean anything. What? Nice doesn't mean anything. Nice with no goals. Yeah. Is do you have integrity? Not compassion. Enough, you know, loyalty, integrity, compassion. Mm-hmm. Do you have these traits? Right. Do you have right? Are you growing? What are you doing in your personal life? Yeah. I want a good man. Mm-hmm. Are you a good woman? Like, right. it's like I think that people just don't do the work on themselves. I don't think that there's no hope for black couples. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's insane. You know, that there's no hope for black couples. But I do think that there are a lot of hurt black people. Mm-hmm. We have this long history of just like anger. It just seems mm-hmm. like it's like I get the feeling of anger. You know, with black people, they're like sometimes they can just be really just not solution oriented.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do any. I remember back in the day, I never did any work on myself. I thought I was just perfectly fine. And I'm like, I didn't fix my own personal issues, so I attracted somebody like that. You know, so I think that when you are a whole person and you do the work on yourself, then you will meet that. You just naturally meet that right person. I think black people are so suspicious and defensive of each other. Black men are so suspicious of black women, and black women just are so suspicious of black men that it's like, and they get defensive immediately. I think that people don't, they just jump to react and they get mad, and I just think that creates bad relationships.
Yeah, I mean, and with all of your, like Daniel was talking about shadow work, you know, by the time you get done with your shadow work, which is kind of ongoing with different parts of your life, but when it comes to relationships, if you can't think of your ex without wanting an apology, then you haven't moved on.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, every man that I've dated, I would never even want them to ever apologize to me because they gave me a gift.
Right.
They gave me a gift that I needed. They gave me something that I needed that I wasn't seeing about myself that I needed to elevate. And so for that in itself, it was worth me meeting them.
Right.
Because it was just something I just wasn't noticing. It doesn't mean that I think that I don't walk around saying all men are dogs. What I do is I go to myself.
Yeah.
Because everybody that annoys you, I don't even care if it's a relationship or not. Everybody that annoys you is a reflection of you. There's something that you don't like about them. You have to be able to forgive other people, and you have to be able to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And the biggest one is yourself. Because you feel, when you get hurt, you feel so dumb.
Yeah.
And you feel so stupid because you didn't see it coming.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
and so
true.
you take it out on yourself, but then what you do is you deflect. You start making everybody else to be the enemy, and that's bad.
That people think that they can get rid of the last person and then never work on themselves and think that the next person is going to be the right one. It's like, you never fixed yourself. Yeah. So you're still going to meet the same type of guy or girl, only they'll have different faces.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with black people, though. Like, I always feel like there's a sense, that we said this before too, that there's a sense of like lack of where they just don't believe that it could be, like they could have a wonderful relationship. You know, like it's interesting. They always feel like there's waiting for the other shoe to drop attitude, chip on the shoulder vibes, you know? And I think that's what messes black people up, is that we go into relationships with chips on our shoulders and we never got repaired.
A lot of it is generational too.
It is
generational. Like we were just talking about Brother Polite when he was saying, when he's talking about epigenetics and saying that slavery really did some damage with us. And a lot of the trauma that those slaves, people that dealt with, we are genetically, you know, inherently probably going to take on. Yeah. So we don't trust each other, and that was done purposely to us then, and we still today are doing it. Yeah. Everything that happened to us during slavery, we still act out every day. Every day. You know. Every day. We still act out. We still act like we have that on the plantation mentality. I mean, think about it. Slaves were not allowed to get married, and most of us have children don't get married. I mean, think about that. Like, I know you're talking about the black, is it giving up hope and all that stuff. At this point, it looks bad, I know. You know, but it's I don't think it's about giving up hope of that, but I don't even think that you can talk about this subject without talking about, like, it just black people in general, not just relationship black people, because black people in general have the problem. Like, we're having a very, which is why we wanted to do this you know, this channel and have these conversations, because we know there'll be a lot of heated debates. A lot of people are going to formulate their own, you know, opinions, and, you know, opinion is your opinion, you know. But I think that it does bring up conversation. I think that's what we lack in the black community, is conversation with each other in a very diplomatic way, where we can really understand each other. I watched did you guys watch the T.I., I think T.I. Mark, there was a summit. Killer Mike, T.I., Candace Owens, there was a panel of people. And Candace was spitting some facts. She was spitting some facts. A lot of them. Statistical facts, you know. And Killer Mike was backed her up, you know, of all people. And T.I. went on about the same racial ridicule that keeps us down in bondage. You know what I mean? Where he doesn't want to move on. She couldn't even talk. Like, Candace couldn't talk. She couldn't talk. There was somebody in the audience that called her a derogatory term. Killer Mike stopped
the show.
Yeah, he was like,
hey, no, we're not doing this. She's still a, this is don't down black women.
Right.
Don't do that, right? So he he just shut the whole thing down. And that's a black man speaking up for a black woman. Now, we don't see that too often now, do we? Right? We usually see that man of the audience. The man of the audience, what we normally see, the guy yelling at black women or, putting black women down. We see the black woman saying, oh, you're all men are dogs and cheaters and just, it's like
that's lame.
That's lame. Like, why are you, what's this name calling thing? Like, I can't relate to this name calling stuff. Like, I like conversation where it is a rich dialogue between black people. We are smarter than this, and I think that's the main problem. So the idea of us even getting into relationships with God, if we can't even talk in a diplomatic way without getting defensive,
when we're not in a relationship,
then how are we ever going to be able to find marriage and stuff like that? I mean, it happens, obviously.
Well, she said the number one reason why black people have a problem is father absence, and I agree.
She's right.
That's absolutely true, because a lot of men are being raised without fathers, and they're being raised with women.
Yeah, and they're getting into relationships like that.
And they're getting relationships with that mentality. You know what I mean? And then there are a lot of girls who are being raised without fathers, and they don't know what to expect out of men because they don't have a man in their house. And this is why I say, before you get in a relationship, you have to be in a position to win. You understand? And that means before anybody comes into your life, it is important that you get your health, that you get your health and fitness together, that you understand money. See, because I think that the one thing the 50s didn't do, which is why I think the first wave of feminism was necessary, is that a lot of women did not go to work. They stayed home, so men were in charge of all the money situation, and women didn't know a lot about money. So if they got divorced and they never had a job before, they it put them in a very bad position. You know what I mean?
Which is where alimony shows up.
Where alimony shows up. But even with alimony, if you don't know how to deal with money,
period,
you put yourself in a really bad place in life.
I really just I really like I value like black relationships. And we've done videos before on interracial marriage and our thoughts on that, and black women dating outside their race, because it's the pool is kind of small.
Yeah, I mean, our grandmother was white. Our mother's biracial,
right?
So our grandmother was white, and she was married to a black man when it wasn't cool. You know what I mean? Where you could literally
it was a little scary.
Killed. You know what I mean? And so, look, if you fall in love with someone outside of your race, that's a beautiful thing. If you find love, period.
That's great.
And you guys both have the same goals and stuff. That's a beautiful thing, regardless of the race of the person. Yeah. But what we're talking about, black
relationships,
it is special to me because I am a black woman. I would love to be with a black man.
Like when you say that, I feel like at this point, will we, because the disconnect is so massive between black men and women, you feel like we'll never reach each other. Like at this point, we're gonna reach each other. Well, that's what we're trying to say. Like, forget about the relationship for a minute. We will reach each other if you do the work on yourself, right? The shadow work on yourself, and figure out why you have a chip on your shoulder before you even go on a date, before you even walk up to a woman or a man or whatever. You need to make sure that you are happy.
Yeah.
And you feel some type of joy in your life before you go and try to add someone new to it. Right. And that's why I think is happening is that people are not feeling personal joy in their life, and they go out there, date, get with somebody, and then they bring that person into their own personal hell. Right. And then because they attracted that person, right? And then it becomes a relationship of arguments, and it's just that the disconnect is just so vast. It's like we just don't want to hear each other out.
I feel like in the black community, sometimes we think we are the same.
Yeah,
and then I think that a lot of those
we're not equal.
Roles are important in relationships. They just are, and I think that pretending like we had someone say the other day, we need to define marriage. No, we don't. Yeah, we don't need to read that. You need to know what you want before you get in a relationship. Yeah, that's timeless. That's in any decade. Yeah. You need to remember. You need to figure out what it is you truly want out of life. Yeah, and then go for that. And then that person you will attract that person that will come into your life. But that doesn't happen a lot of times. Sometimes we get swept away in sexual moments and this ecstasy of being attracted to each other, and then we go and make a whole life based on that, and then it's not enough. Yeah, it's like that Disney fairy tale. Yeah, it's fake. It's
Prince
not real.
Charming comes to your door with the roses and all that stuff. It's like
And when you get through the matrix and you realize that, that, hey, this person, I don't even really like them that much. See, a lot of what's wrong with us as Black people is the way we were raised. And this is the reason why I talk about the absence of fathers. Because, people, this is what in feminism, when feminists always talk about the patriarchy, patriarchy's taken over. Well, I could have used the patriarchy growing up.
Yeah, easy.
My mother could have used the patriarchy growing up because we were raised with no father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We didn't.
And so I think that men are so important, and I just don't think that they think they are.
Yeah, that's my problem, especially with Black men. There's not a lot of Black men. Like when I talk to them, it's like I feel like they don't feel they're important, or they don't feel like they're, what's the word, like valuable.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of have a chip on their shoulder.
And this is the reason why we go back and forth in our comments, because we think you are valuable and we're willing to have that fight with you. But I will always have that fight with you because I care about you.
Yeah. I think it's very simple. This whole thing is very simple. Is that I think that we just not taking the time to understand one another. That's the big problem there. Because once you understand, you don't go into a job and then work there for years and not understand what you're doing. You go to a job, you learn the ins and outs of the job, and then you work. It's the same thing here. You don't go into a relationship, and then just not know anything about the other person and what they're thinking, their thoughts, their dreams, their hopes, or whatever. You don't go into that and just aimlessly walk through the relationship, because when you do that, resentment will come and anger will happen, and then divorces happen, and then here we go. I honestly believe that if we understood our roles, then we would have a better communication amongst each other. It's because we are trying to be equal, and men and women are just not equal. And we will do a show about that one day. But men and women are just not equal to one another. We want different things. And when you're not telling someone that, and you get into a relationship with them, you're not saying, you guys are not telling each other what your needs are, it gets kind of all messed up, So I don't have I don't feel like it's a lost cause at all. Like, I would not say that whatsoever. As long as there's Black people living in this world, Black people should find each other. In this world, whether you become in a relationship or not. I don't like the idea of Black people not finding each other, and that's what we promote here, is that we just want Black people to find each other. You don't have to agree with what we say, that's fine, but we always want to open up some type of a conversation for topics like you just have, about the connection between Black people, and I think it all starts with self. I don't think that it's just Black people just not connected to each other. There's something going on within the individual, and that is the reason why you're seeing the people give up hope on Black relationships. It has nothing to do with the relationship. It has something to do with the individual prior to the relationship. Get right prior, and then you will find the person that is for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it will be harmonious.
Yeah, they say the first 7 years of your life, your mind is like a sponge.
It is.
And so most of adult problems are to come from the first 7 years of your life. Things that are hard to get over because you were basically just brainwashed. Right. And it's what you've known your whole life, so you play it out as you get older and older and older. And so it's important to, like Danielle said at one point, unlearn and relearn. Right. And that is very hard for people because it means that you have to get away from your ego. And you have to say, you know what, sometimes men are right. We do talk too much. You know what I mean? It has to be, for guys, sometimes when we're right, we're not doing the best we can be. Because
we constantly call out our own. I think change happens when you do that, though. Yeah. When you, like, if you're a male and you're seeing another man say something that's incorrect, I think it's good to call it your own. We call it women all the time. We get pushback from it, but we call it women all the time because there are some things that women do that are just wrong, and that's contributing to the problem between us.
Right. You're alone because you're annoying. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're an annoying woman. You're annoying me, and I'm a woman, so I can only imagine what you're doing to men. You know what I mean? Right. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just like we have to... Black people, when we're single, we need to do our own work on ourselves. Just be happy single. Yeah. And then as soon as you're happy single and you feel like you can get out there and, you move differently when you feel good about yourself. Yeah. So when people say to me, oh, Black men are this, no, Black men are great.
No, I don't. We don't even accept that.
I don't accept that.
But yeah, I hope it answered your question. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. to our channel.
Tell your friends.
And tell your friends.
Tell your parents.
If you watched
Tell your grandma and grandpa.
If you watched 3 videos, you're a fan.
Even if you're hating it, you're a fan.
So you might as well subscribe. You've been watching the 3 or more videos. You've already been doing it. Just subscribe. It's free.
And we're on.
All right, you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I hope everybody has a really good weekend, and we will see you next week. All right. Bye.